What's poppin', fellow nerds? Today I am bringing you another deck profile. So we are going to be showcasing UlforceVeedramon today. I took this to my locals Friday night and went undefeated 4-0 for the tournament. I actually only dropped one game with this deck, even though it was the first time I was using it. It was very fun to play, but let's get into the list. So starting off with our Digitama, we have 4 Digimon. His effect is when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has jamming, trigger, draw 1 card. Very good draw engine to use. And our 5th egg is going to be our one of Upamon. His effect is when attacking once per turn, if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards in play, trigger, draw 1. So with this deck, I actually never really want to swing unless I have jamming. So that's why I'm playing 4 Demi-V. And also Upa, like, this isn't like in our control. We're not playing like a get rid of your opponent's Digivolution cards deck. So with this not being in our control, yes, it can be live sometimes, but we have no control over whether or not this Upa is live, so that's why it's the 5th egg, and these are 4 of. And on to our rookies, we are playing, obviously, 4 of the best rookie in the game, Veedramon. This card's so stupid. 3 play cost, 0 to Digivolve, 2000 DP, irrelevant. This card has jamming. For no reason. You just get to swing in, free damage. This card is probably the stupidest rookie in the game. Very dumb. Very dumb to get a few of these out and just poke into your opponent's security for free. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt, but if you have not already entered our giveaway, check the link in the description. Giving away one of these. Check it out. Alright, let's get back to the video. And our next rookie, we are playing 4 more Veedramon. So we're playing this because it's searchable, and having searchable cards is something that's very good if you like your decks to be consistent. This effect has an inheritable, your turn once per turn when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, trigger, draw 1. That will happen quite a bit in this deck. Obviously when you get your Wombo going with Ulforce, which I'll get into whenever we get there, this will let you draw a card whenever you do that. But there's also a lot of things in this deck that let you unsuspend in your main phase, so you do get to draw off him quite often. And our last rookie, we are playing 4 Gabumon. We're playing this because it lets you put a body on the field on your first turn, in addition to what's in your raising area, and also maintain hand advantage, because his effect is on play, trigger, draw 1 card from your deck. Very good. We're not worried about his DP, which is only 1000, because you're typically going to play this guy and the next turn Digivolve on top of him. And I'll go into what exactly you would do in that situation whenever I get into the combos at the end of the video. But that is it for our rookies. We are playing 12. I don't play any 2-drops. I don't really like 2-drops. I would rather my guys have effects, and these are the ones I want to play, so that's what we're doing. And our first champion, we are playing 4 Veedramon. This is one of our searchable level 4 targets. I really love this card because his effect is your turn while you have a blue Tamer in play, which is going to be pretty often in this deck, as you'll see. This Digimon game's jamming, so it's a level 4 target that lets you just poke for free. Very good, and it's searchable, and it also makes your Taikamias live as well because it's a Veedramon. And on to our next champion, we are playing 4 Grizzlymon, generic blocker. When attacking, lose 2 memory. We're playing 4 of this because this is kind of a setup deck. Like, yes, you can aggro early depending on the matchup, but if they have a blocker out and you don't, and you're playing against a deck that can aggro you pretty easily, you're gonna be in for a bad time. So being able to see this card in any matchup that you need it is very crucial, so that's why I'm maxing this out. And then with all your draw power in this deck, like, you're gonna see this card. And our last champion, we are playing 2x Veedramon. So his effect is when Digivolving, unsuspend one of your level 4 or lower Digimon. So I will get into some combos at the end of the video and why I'm playing this card. You're playing 2 because you do have a lot of draw power. Honestly, I would play this card at 3 or 4 if I had the room, but with as much draw power as you have in blue, you are going to see this card playing it at 2, and it is very good for your Wombos. And that's it for our champions. We are playing a total of 10. And on to our ultimates. We are playing 4 Arrow Veedramon. If you play anything less in Ulforce, you're wrong. So his effect is when Digivolving, if you have a blue Tamer in play, unsuspend one of your blue Digimon. So that lets you get in additional attacks. But his main effect, and the reason why you're maxing this card out, is his inheritable. Your turn when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, it gains jamming. So this gives your Ulforce jamming, so it ensures you don't die against Mega Zoo when you're checking their security and any crazy stuff like that. If I have a choice, I want this underneath my Ulforce. Makes you pretty safe. The only thing you have to worry about is options at that point. And then our next ultimate, we are playing 4 Zudomon. There are a few options that you have as far as your second ultimate in this deck. I'm playing Zudomon not because of the inheritable, which is very good. I'm playing it because his on-play effect. His on-play effect is trigger, draw 2 cards from your deck, and he's only a 7 to play, which isn't that bad. And what this lets you do is you can, if you do have kind of a bricky hand or your opponent's not applying any offensive pressure, you can just drop this, draw 2 cards from your deck, and then you can Ulforce them next turn. And they know that. And that's very threatening, and his inheritable is a bonus to me, but it is very good. So his inheritable is when attacking, if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards in play, gain 1 memory. And PS, this isn't once per turn. So if you get your Wombo going to where you're just swinging multiple times with your Ulforce, you just get to gain a whole bunch of memory if this effect is live, which is pretty dumb. But like I said, we're not playing it for this effect. This effect is a bonus. We're playing it for this. And that is it for our ultimates. We are playing 8 of them. And now on to our megas. You guessed it, we are playing 4 UlforceVeedramon. This card is so stupid. So its effect is your turn when one of your blue Tamers becomes suspended, unsuspend this Digimon, not once per turn. And then his second effect is your turn, once per turn. They were smart enough to give this a once per turn clause. When this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, gain 1 memory. So whenever you get into your Wombo, on your first unsuspend, you just gain a memory for free. And he's only 3 to Digivolve, which typically isn't going to end your turn, and his DP is pretty much irrelevant unless you're trying to run over your opponent's Digimon, which comes up sometimes, but he's usually going to be at 12 or 13 whenever you're attacking, whenever you get into your combos. But you're probably just going to have jamming and just start poking at their security and just womboing out. And these are the only 4 megas I'm playing in this deck. This is the only one I care about. I'm not playing anything else. With all your draw power, you're going to see this card, and this is the only one I want to attack with. And on to our level 7s, which we are playing 2 of. You guessed it, double Omnimon. So this lets you, whenever you can't quite kill them or something comes up with your Ulforce that like makes it to where you can't game them, you can drop Omnimon, and it protects your Ulforce because 1, it clears at least one of their cards, but 2, it turns your Ulforce from an 11,000 DP Digimon to a 15,000 DP Digimon, which is a lot harder to swing over because it's probably going to be suspended. For those of you that don't know, Omnimon's effect is when Digivolving, choose one of your opponent's Digimon, delete all of your opponent's Digimon that share that name. So it will, at bare minimum, get rid of 1. It does come up to where you can get rid of anywhere from 2 to 5 of their Digimon if they happen to have a bunch of the same name Digimon out. And his second effect is, which actually has a lot of synergy with the cards in this deck, is when attacking, you can unsuspend this Digimon by returning one of this Digimon's level 6 Digivolution cards underneath it to your hand. So it lets you unsuspend him, so if he's on top of Aeroforce, he gains jamming, and then like you get to draw off of your Demi-Vs, get to draw off of your Vmon that has the inheritable where you unsuspend, you draw. Like, it gets pretty dumb. So you can swing twice with him and get draw power, which is pretty cool. But that is it for our level 7s. You're pretty much going to see this every game. This deck has a lot of draw power. Like, it's stupid how much draw power blue has. So like, you're going to see this. That's why I don't feel the need to play anymore. Like, you'll always see this when you need it. And on to our options. 4 Hammer Spark, obviously. I don't see a reason to play any less than 4 of this card. Its effect is main, gain 1 memory, and it costs 0, so it's just a free card to gain a memory to extend your plays. And its security effect, which is pretty beneficial, is gain 2 memory. So if your opponent swings into this and they're at 0 or 1 memory, it just magically becomes your turn and they just can't do anything. Pretty good for the mirror, because if they start womboing you and you can't stop them, like if they hit one of these, it becomes your turn usually. So you can try to kill them before they kill you on their turn again. But very good. I would never play less than 4 of this card in this deck. And our next option, we are playing 2 Cocytus Breath. So I feel the same way about this as I do Gaia Force. I do want to have 1 in my hand at any given moment, but I don't want to have more than 1. So I am playing 2. You're going to see it when you need it, and also if it gets checked in security, it's pretty upsetting for your opponent. So Cocytus' effect is return one of your opponent's Digimon to its owner's hand, and then trash all the Digivolution cards underneath that Digimon. So this gets rid of anything in the game, because it just puts them back in their hand. The only thing that gets around this is Breath of the Gods, which is a 2-cost option card that most black decks don't play, but it'll keep that Digimon from being returned to the hand. But obviously, if they have another Digimon, you can just target the other Digimon. So like you're gonna get rid of something. But this is good. It gets rid of Millenniumons and just anything. I love seeing this card just because it answers your opponent's board whenever you're still trying to stall to build up your hand to start your Wombo on them. But that is it for our option cards. We are playing 6. And on to our Tamers, which we are playing several of. This is kind of like Shine Greymon, where you do want to see your Tamers, so you're playing quite a few. You don't end up having to play as many as Shine does, but you do play quite a few. So our first Tamer is Rena. So I see builds that play anywhere from 2 to 4 of this card. I disagree with that. I want to see this card in every single game. I'll get into that in a moment, but I'll go ahead and read off the effect. Its on-play effect is reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 Digimon card with V in its name among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Very good. It lets you sort through your deck and add any pieces that you still need. Most of your deck has V in its name, so you're going to be able to piece together stuff. And you get that effect when it hits in security, which is very good. And the other effect is your turn, when one of your blue Digimon attacks, you may suspend this Tamer to give that Digimon plus 1000 DP for the turn. So the reason why I'm playing 4 of this, besides the search effect, is because you can suspend this card on attack declaration, which lets you immediately unsuspend your Ulforce, and if Error of Force is underneath it, you gain jamming immediately on the first swing. I do not want to swing into my opponent's security and not be able to give it jamming at any given time. The tie, which we will get into, lets you unsuspend your Ulforce as well, but tie is more situational, and also it does not let you do it on the first swing, which I absolutely believe in having this card out to start your Wombo so you can gain jamming immediately. And as I said, we are playing 2 Taikamiya V Tamers. His effect is if you have a Digimon with Veedramon in its name, you may suspend this Tamer to activate one of the following effects. Trigger draw 1, or one of your Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for the turn. So the reason why we're only playing 2 of this is because 1, it's more situational than Rena, because to activate the effect, you have to have a Veedramon on the field, which obviously your Veemons don't count, your X-Veemons don't count. Like, you have to have a Veedramon or an UlforceVeedramon or an Era Veedramon on the field to activate his effect, which you wouldn't think that matters too much, but it does. But Rena you can suspend whenever you want, as long as you're attacking with a blue Digimon. Yes, draw power is cool. Yes, drawing into this when you're comboing into your opponent and you can play it and get more attacks in. Very cool, but I need to see my Rena. Like, this card is situational, Rena is not. And that's why I'm playing 4 and 2 of him. And our last Tamer, we are playing 2 Matt Ishidas. So this is our memory setter of the deck. We're playing 2 just so we can see it. You don't want to play any more of that because you're really only playing this for the ability to set your memory to 3, so you can guarantee Ulforce your opponent on your turn without ending your turn. But with the reason we're playing this over Davis, which Davis is cool because it's a searcher and it lets you search any blue Digimon from the top 3 cards of your deck. It's basically, Davis is like another Rena, except for it's any blue Digimon, not a Digimon with V in its name. But the reason we're playing this over Davis is because his other effect is your turn, when you play a blue Digimon, you can suspend this Tamer to trash the bottom Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon. So you can suspend this, and you can suspend it whenever you want if you have enough memory to play a Digimon from your hand. So this gives your Ulforce extra swings, which is very good. It does come up, and because we're maxing out for Rena, it's not necessary to play Davis in this deck. I want to play another Tamer that I can suspend whenever I want. And that is it for our Tamers. We are playing 8 of them. So now I'll go into my matchups, which it was 4 rounds. I went undefeated. Came in first for the tournament, and I'm going to post either some or all of those gameplay videos with my commentary over them sometime this week. Round 1 was against yellow, purple, red security control. They were kind of like trying to play to boost their security as much as possible and just have like stuff that did things in there. Round 2, I played against a purple Millenniumon Turbo kind of deck, I guess. Round 3, I actually played against the mirror match, another Ulforce player. That was pretty funny. And then round 4, I played against another purple deck, and it was like purple toolbox kind of deal. It was very interesting. The main strategies seemed to be like get Lilithmon on the field and like just use a whole bunch of purple option cards. But now let's get into some of the combos that you can do with this deck, which very fun. So obviously, having a Veemon on top of a Demi Veemon is ideal. Gonna happen pretty often in your games. So one of the early game combos that I like to do, which just lets you just get free aggression on your opponent, is I will turn 1, Digivolve my Veemon on my Demi-Veemon, and then play a Gabumon from my hand. So you get to draw 2 cards from that, and on the following turn, if they don't put a blocker on the field, you promote your Veemon, and you swing with jamming, draw a card from Demi-V. You have a couple of options at that point. You can either Digivolve your X-Veemon on top of your Gabumon, and you can unsuspend your Veemon, and then you can either swing again, depending on how much memory they gave you. You can swing again with jamming, which is pretty cool. Or, if you do not have X-Veemon, you can also Digivolve your Grizzlymon on top of your Veemon, and now they can't swing into your Veemon unless they have something bigger than this, because you're just going to block it, which is pretty nice. Alright, so let's say the following turn, they didn't do anything to either one of these guys because they're unsuspended. So you can play a blue Tamer, you can swing with this guy, draw a card, and then you can Digivolve here, and then use his effect to unsuspend Veemon again, and then if you still have memory and you can do something else, you can swing another time with Veemon, and then if you want, you can then do this, Digivolve X Veemon, and then unsuspend itself. And like, there's so many ways to get like early aggression on your opponent. Like, you do not need Ulforce to win with this deck. Honestly, the most busted card in this deck is Veemon. It's not even Ulforce. Veemon doesn't require any setup. You just get to swing with jamming, and then a lot of your cards let you unsuspend this card for free during your turn, and you just get to continue to poke your opponent with this card. This is the reason why this deck is good. Obviously, Ulforce is very good, but in my opinion, this is the reason why this deck is so good. This gives you draw power on top of Demi-Veemon, and you just get so much free advantage. Like, it's so dumb. This card is so stupid. Alright, now let's get into the main Wombo combo of this deck, which is your Ulforce with, let's just say you only have 2 Tamers out, for whatever reason. So you have Ulforce, you swing into their security, you activate Rena to suspend itself to give your Ulforce 1000 DP, so it unsuspends itself due to its own effect, and then you gain a memory from its own effect, and then these effects trigger. So Arrow Veedramon, you gain jamming because you unsuspended. Your Veemon, you unsuspended yourself during your main phase, so you draw a card, and then you have jamming and you're still attacking, so your Demi-Veemon triggers, so you draw 2 cards, gain a memory, and then you have jamming. Dumb. And then obviously you can swing a second time for 12k with jamming, and then at that point it doesn't matter because you've already gained the jamming. You can have Rena's out, or you can have a Taikami out. You can suspend this to either draw a card or give it another 1000, which if you're not running over their Digimon and you would rather just draw a card, so you draw a card, unsuspend again, and then swing again. Like, as many Tamers as you have on the field, that's how many attacks you get. Also, if you happen to be able to Digivolve into this guy, if you have a blue Tamer in play, unsuspends one of your blue Digimon, so you can unsuspend your Ulforce again. Like, it's so dumb. Like, if your opponent doesn't have a blocker out and you have a few Tamers in play, it doesn't matter how many, like, if they have 5 security in play and they pass turn to you with no blockers on the field, and you have like 3 Tamers and you have 2 Digimon on the field, one of which you can go in an Ulforce with, you're probably going to kill them on that turn. Like, it's so stupid how easily this deck can just run through 5 security. This deck is so fun to combo with. I will say the one thing is, so this was the first time I ever used this deck this week at my locals, and it is kind of a big brain deck. Like, you have to think through, because you have so many ways to unsuspend and unsuspend your Digimon to get extra swings in with this guy and then X Veemon and all that stuff, that you do have to think through a lot of your plays and your setup. So it did take me some time to figure out each turn, but if I played this deck a second week, like, it'd be cake. Like, this, like, it's not a confusing deck to use, it's just something where you have to think through your plays before you actually start doing stuff. Playing with this deck was a ton of fun. Like, just being able to draw cards, like, at any point past like turn 4, turn 5, my hand was like a stack of cards. Like, I would have like 15 cards in my hand, if not more. Like, it's so dumb how many cards you see playing blue in general, but playing this deck as well, like, it adds to your draw power. Very fun to Wombo combo your opponent. Anytime they give you too much memory or you just have too many Tamers on the field with an Ulforce that isn't going to end your turn, like you're probably going to be able to kill them, and it feels a little unfair, but very fun to play. This is another deck that I would love to continue to play, but like I said, I do want to give you guys different deck profiles and different deck gameplays every week. So I won't be playing this deck again unless for some reason you guys like just demand it, but very fun to play. It's going to be tough retiring this one. But if you guys have any thoughts or suggestions about this deck, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to answer any questions or hear your thoughts on this. But I do appreciate you guys stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy seeing this kind of content and want to see more. Until next time.